not because they are distracted, not because they are unsure, but because their mind is still unfolding what just happened. They listen fully before they speak. They let questions sit instead of grabbing the first answer. They allow silence to exist without rushing to fill it. Their thinking happens beneath the surface. While others move on, they remain with the moment a little longer. They replay words. They examine tone. They notice what felt slightly off, even if no one else did. They don't experience conversation as something that ends when it stops. For them, it continues internally. They think after the room empties. They think while walking home. They think late at night, revisiting moments that seemed ordinary at the time. They don't skim experiences. They sink into them. They notice layers others pass over, implications others don't consider, connections others don't pause long enough to make. They may appear quiet in groups, but their internal world is active. Their attention is not scattered, it is concentrated. They are tracking patterns, linking ideas, holding multiple perspectives at once. They don't interrupt easily. They don't speak unless something feels worth adding. They don't enjoy surface-level exchange for its own sake. They prefer conversations that go somewhere. They ask fewer questions, but heavier ones. Questions that open rather than close. Questions that don't always have immediate answers. They think in systems, not fragments. One thought leads to another, which leads to memory, which leads to implication, which leads to meaning. They're comfortable with complexity. They can hold contradictory ideas without resolving them right away. They can tolerate ambiguity without rushing to certainty. They can sit with not knowing longer than most. They often get absorbed in thought without realizing it. Time passes differently when they're thinking. Minutes stretch, hours disappear. They can stare out a window and travel far inward. They don't fear being alone with their thoughts. They don't need constant stimulation. They don't require noise to feel alive. Silence is not empty for them. It is spacious. They replay conversations long after they end. Not out of regret, but out of curiosity. What was really said? What was implied? What did it reveal? They don't just experience events, they reflect on them. They think about what happened, and then about what it meant. They often delay decisions, not because they can't decide, but because they want to choose with understanding. They imagine consequences. They trace outcomes. They mentally walk paths before stepping onto them. They're rarely impulsive. Their actions tend to follow reflection, not emotion alone. They may seem slow to respond, but when they do, their responses are considered, measured, layered, grounded. They don't speak to fill space. They don't react to keep pace, and they don't simplify just to move on. They live in reflection, and because this way of being is internal, quiet and unhurried, it is often misunderstood. From the outside, deep thinking is often interpreted as hesitation. Because responses arrive later, people assume uncertainty. Because words are chosen carefully, people assume insecurity. Because silence appears between thoughts, people assume absence. The pace is misread. In fast-moving conversations, deep thinkers can seem out of sync. Others answer quickly. They pause. Others react immediately. They reflect. So the difference in timing becomes a judgment. They're described as overthinking, as too serious, as someone who complicates simple things. When they ask clarifying questions, it's taken as resistance. When they explore implications, it's taken as doubt. When they hesitate to commit, it's taken as indecision. Because decisiveness is often equated with speed, If an answer doesn't come quickly, it's assumed clarity doesn't exist. Their silence is filled in by others. People assume they lack confidence, that they're unsure of themselves, that they don't know what they want. But what's actually happening is invisible. The thinking is underway, just not externally expressed yet. In group settings, this misunderstanding deepens. They don't interrupt, they don't dominate conversation. They wait until their thought feels complete. But conversations move on without them, so they're labelled passive, overlooked, seen as disengaged. Their contributions arrive late, sometimes after decisions have already been made, and when they do speak, it can feel unexpected, because their thought reframes the discussion, because it adds context others missed, because it goes deeper than the group intended to go. But timing matters socially. Depth that arrives late is often dismissed as irrelevant, so they learn quietly that their natural pace doesn't always fit the room. Emotionally, they are misread too. Because they don't react immediately, people assume they're unaffected. Because they process internally, people assume they don't feel deeply. Because they stay composed, people assume distance. Their inner intensity goes unnoticed. They may feel something strongly, but the feeling doesn't rush outward. It settles first, and that settling is mistaken for absence. They're sometimes told to stop thinking so much, to just go with it, to live in the moment, as if thinking deeply were a refusal to live, rather than a way of engaging fully, as if reflection were avoidance. Over time, this misunderstanding creates pressure to answer faster, pressure to simplify, pressure to speak before thoughts are ready. Not because they doubt their process, but because the world keeps asking them to move at a different speed. And that difference in speed is often framed as a flaw, rather than what it is, a different relationship with meaning. Deep thinking is not excess, it is a nervous system that processes experience thoroughly. For people who think deeply, information does not arrive in isolation. It arrives with context, with memory, with implication. A single moment rarely stays singular. It spreads. A sentence links to a previous experience. An expression connects to a pattern noticed before. An event carries echoes of similar moments, long past. So the mind doesn't move forward immediately. It moves inward. This inward movement is not hesitation, it is integration. Their mind is organizing experience before responding to it. Where others react to what is visible, deep thinkers respond to what is structural. They want to know how things fit together, what this moment belongs to, what it reveals about something larger. This is why their thinking takes time. They are not deciding whether something matters. They are understanding how it matters. This way of processing often develops early, in environments where observation was safer than expression, where understanding dynamics mattered more than reacting to them, where speaking too quickly could have consequences. They learn to listen fully, to read between lines, to notice patterns before drawing conclusions. Over time, this observation became internal habit. Their attention learned to stay with complexity. Instead of simplifying experience to move on, they allowed it to remain layered. They developed tolerance for ambiguity. Not knowing didn't signal danger. Uncertainty didn't demand immediate resolution. Questions didn't need quick answers to be valid. This tolerance shaped their thinking. They learned that meaning unfolds over time, that clarity arrives slowly, that rushing understanding often flattens it. so they don't trust instant conclusions. They let thoughts mature. They revisit ideas from different angles. They examine internal reactions carefully. They test understanding before accepting it. Their mind seeks coherence, not correctness, not speed, coherence. They want the internal picture to make sense. This is why they often replay conversations. Not to criticize themselves, not to relive regret, but to understand. What was happening beneath the exchange? What was being communicated indirectly? What was revealed unintentionally? Their reflection is not rumination, it is exploration. They are mapping terrain. Emotionally, this depth carries weight. Because when you think deeply, you don't separate thought from feeling. Ideas touch memory. Reflection stirs emotion. Understanding carries personal meaning. Their inner world is not abstract, it is lived. This is why deep thinking can be tiring. Holding complexity requires energy. Sustaining attention requires effort. Sitting with unresolved meaning requires patience. So they move slowly, but they move carefully. They are not avoiding action. They are preparing for aligned action. They want their response to match their understanding. This creates a rhythm that doesn't match urgency-driven environments, but psychologically, it is sound. Their nervous system prioritizes processing over reacting. Their mind values depth over immediacy. Their sense of self is organized around meaning rather than performance. They're not lost in thought. They are with it. Their thinking is a way of staying connected to experience, not escaping it. And once you understand that, their pace stops looking like delay and starts looking like intention. You don't need to compress yourself to keep pace with the world. You don't need to rush clarity. You don't need to shorten your process. You don't need to make your depth easier to consume. Nothing is wrong because you take time to understand. Nothing is missing because meaning matters to you more than immediacy. Your pauses are not empty. Your silence is not absence. Your reflection is not hesitation. It is allowed that you move inward before you move forward. It is allowed that you sit with questions longer than others. It is allowed that your thoughts mature slowly. You are not disconnected because you think deeply. You are not indecisive because you consider carefully. You are not distant because you don't react on cue. You don't owe the world instant answers. You don't owe conversations unfinished thoughts. You don't owe speed in order to be present. You are allowed to live in layers. You are allowed to hold complexity quietly. You are allowed to let understanding unfold on its own timeline. Your way of engaging with life does not need approval. Your depth does not need translation. Your pace does not need justification. Quietly, without explanation, without performance, and nothing about how deeply you think needs to be reduced to belong.